I think as we look at healthcare in our world, we oftentimes are looking at it through the lens of here's a sickness, here's an illness, here's a disease, a disorder, whatever, something showed up. Well, what can we do to treat that disease? Oftentimes the practice here is called pathophysiology. Like what's the physiology of the pathology, the thing that's making us sick? And I think that's focusing on the wrong thing. As a chiropractor, we started learning this process. We call it salutogenesis. So the other's pathogenesis. This is salutogenesis. That's all about what actually makes us healthy, right? And so Abbie's mad at me because I'm going way too in detail here with you guys. But I promise it matters. If we focus on truly what makes us healthy, we have a chance of living our healthiest versions of ourselves. And so we've identified 7 things that make us healthier as humans.
And good news is they're much easier words than the words he just spoke.
All right, there's a quiz on the next podcast. Okay, so quick rundown. Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hukin. For all the note takers out there, the 7 things are, Abbie, go ahead.
Adaptability, detoxification, nutrition, hydration, rest, mindfulness, and movement.
Absolutely. If you do those 7 things exceptionally well, I would have a hard time believing that you're not healthy.
Yeah.
We are the most adaptive creatures God ever created. We adapt to stress better than anyone else. That's why we're at the top of the food chain. We can do things much more full scale, full circle than anyone else, than anything else. And so whenever we look at adaptability, there's things, our nervous system is what helps us adapt to stress. There's 3 main types of stress we experience in our life: physical stress, emotional stress, and chemical stress. And all 3 of those things can have a negative impact on our body's ability to express itself as health. There's things that we can do to help us adapt better. So the, again, scientific term here today is called hormesis, environmental hormesis. If we didn't live 70 degrees in fluorescent lifestyles, right, I think our nervous systems would be better trained to adapt. And so things like circadian rhythm, that affects our body's adaptability. So we have these blue screens that we look at after the sun goes down. Guess what? Now your nervous system's all kind of out of whack, right? And so not knowing what to do. Never exposing ourselves to hot or cold. The invention of the HVAC system was actually a detriment to human health. Now, don't get me wrong, I get home.
We're building a house and it is going in.
We're going to have one. It's going to stay a constant temperature all the time when I'm in that house. But we have to get outside, grounding, putting your feet on the ground. There's amazing benefits of that. Yeah. It's one of your favorite things to do.
It is. Not in the cold. Hurts.
Do I have permission to talk about the science of grounding and that it's not just woohoo?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right. See,
some things may seem woohoo, but
there is actually support of this, that we have all these free radicals and negative ions that come through stressful situations that we encounter as human beings. Well, the earth has a very positive charge exposed to it. And so if we put our feet on the ground, we'll transfer those ions together. And you've experienced, you had a headache, you go out, put your feet on the ground, guess what? Headache's gone.
Yeah,
right?
It really is. And that's where like barefoot shoes come in.
Yeah.
You know, people, not only for the shape of the foot and the balance and like your pelvis and all of the things, but it's also like I'm blanking on the
free runners.
Free runners, are they the ones with the copper?
Yeah,
they have copper infused in the bottom, which only helps enhance that. But you still get it with other barefoot shoes, right? That are just like the rubber. There's less barrier there. If you think of like a tennis shoe's layers and they're, you know, so thick and they've got all these layers, well, that's just really disconnecting you or your kid from the earth.
Absolutely.
Not saying that you can't have those, but if you're wearing them only and all the time, you may not get that benefit.
Yeah, and they also make, I don't know if you know about this, but sheets, like bed sheets.
Yes, they do.
You can ground yourself while you sleep.
I've seen somebody testing it, and it was like, you know, they would grab a charger and like get into that grounded bed with it and like what it would do. And they had this thing and it showed, and it was just really, really cool.
Okay, so for you, those of you that aren't going to go buy grounding sheets or grounding shoes, One other thing, we talked about this one this morning, you can actually just turn your Wi-Fi switch off at night. Okay, so you're like, how can I help my nervous system adapt to the life around me better? There's little things like that you can certainly be doing. So adaptability, the number one thing that we have to do well, and we've got to give our bodies ways to adapt. So cold therapy, what's the cryotherapy, cold plunging, saunas. There's certain types of saunas, things like that, where we're exposing our bodies to extreme cold and extreme heat. It teaches our nervous system how to adapt to all kinds of stress, emotional stress, physical, emotional, spiritual, all these different things better. So adaptability, number one thing. We could probably do a whole podcast about that.
Yeah.
But we're not today. We're going to move on to...
You're forgetting one huge one.
Uh-oh.
For adaptability.
Go.
What do you do?
Oh, yeah, I'm a chiropractor. Oh, by the way.
All that said.
Yeah, all that said. It's life for me. So chiropractic's premise is to truly allow your nervous system to adapt to its environment better. People think it's about neck pain and back pain and headaches, and do we have people with that all the time? You bet. But really what it's about, truly finding a neurologically focused chiropractor, is all about finding someone who's helping your body and your brain communicate more effectively, so that when you live at this threshold of stress in your life, there's not, one shoveling accident or one exposure to gluten or one stressful situation at work that just sits you over the edge. We actually start to increase that chasm of what my adaptive threshold is. So yeah absolutely. You got to have a chiropractor in your life. Biased opinion.
Yeah, that's all right.
We're going to go deeper on adaptability. Abbie, what do you think comes to mind whenever you hear adaptability or helping your body adapt better to the stressors that it's in?
I always think of just like going with the flow. That's where my brain goes. But I feel like you have said adaptability is the most important thing for literally years. Just being adaptable, even in life, not even just in health, but in life, just adapting and going with the flow. You're all about going with the flow.
How are you with going with the flow?
I'm trying to think of an analogy of like what I would be of going with the flow, but basically not good. You've helped me. Yes.
Improving.
Yes.
I've moved you to the dark side of go with the flow.
A little bit. My mom's probably scared with how much more go with the flow that I am, because I think I get my not go with the flow with her from her. So I love you, Mom.
Y'all, Abbie is such a planner. And I convinced her one time to go to Florida.
Yeah.
12-hour drive through the night with our children, who were very young at the time. And we did not have a place to stay booked yet. Like we did, but it was a couple of days later.
Yes.
We had to stay in a hotel for like 2 days, but
that we found once we got there. And it was the best trip. And I still think that even to this day, that little mini trip before we went to meet up with some more friends that we had a place to stay was the best couple days ever. And I remember that night on the beach, after we had drove all day, found our hotel, and then we went and saw the sunset on the beach, and we looked at each other and said, we're like, is this a dream? Like, this is just the best. Our kids are happy. We're at the beach. It was a beautiful sunset. So yeah,
that's going on almost exactly 4 years ago now, and we still say, oh man, that's like the vacation we compare it all the rest of them to. And so you still don't trust me on going with the flow, but that time that worked out pretty darn good.
Yeah, it usually does for you.
So relative to our health, though, there are so many different things that we have to do to help ourselves adapt. And one of the greatest things in our previous podcast episode on the 7 pillars of vitality, we talked and touched briefly on this, but the premise in science is called hormesis, or environmental hormesis. And it's kind of, I guess, in one way theorized, but science is really starting to support this ideology that if we stress our bodies in small ways, microdose it, if you will, in a controlled environment in which we can alter the outcome at any given time, then we can actually have a healthier adaptation to that stressor. The conversation that I always have with people, or at least coin the term, is air conditioning a net positive on humanity? Like, what do you think?
Yes.
Right.
No.
I mean, that's pretty great.
I know what you mean, because, when you think of like how they used to not have it, and it's just it keeps us too comfortable, really.
I mean, you see a ton of stuff right now on people, like it's very trending, right? And we're going to talk about this, but cold plunging.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say that. I was going to
Like
say that.
cold plunging it's trending, and I think anything that trends for longer than, a flash in the pan, hot second is because it actually works. But the premise of cold plunging is built around the idea of hormesis. Like, can I alter the environment in which I'm exposing myself to so that I can have a better outcome?
Yeah. Actually, yesterday. It was yesterday. We went to the river. Our best friends were camping down there. And so we went down there to hang out. And we took a little boat ride, and they showed us this spring that they had found. And I mean, would you say the water was like, what, 40 degrees?
Oh, yeah. It was cold.
Yes. And so we all did a cold plunge, and it was my best friend's first time. And it was so cool and so beautiful. Nobody had their phones. So,
Have to take our word for it.
Yeah. Take a mental picture. But it was amazing. And I know that cold plunge, like you said, is just trending, but there is no greater feeling, for one, to conquer what you really, really don't want to do. Like, I was clothed, and so I had to just do it in my sports bra and granny panties. And I did it because my best friend had never done one before. And so, of course, if I was going to make her do one, I had to do one with her. But the feeling that you get whenever you are done, not only because you accomplish it, but because what it does, I feel like, to your nervous system. And I know you could speak more on that. And you feel like you could conquer the world. And so I love whenever I do get the ability to do a cold plunge, especially first thing in the morning, and have that set the tone for my day.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before we get too much deeper into this, if you guys haven't done cold plunging or cold showers, I hate cold showers. I would way rather get in a tub full of ice water than take a cold shower. I know that's ridiculous, and I should probably do something about that. But
no, it kind of just like sprays and
everywhere. It's like I would rather just totally submerge. And so, if you haven't done this yet, there is science that backs it up. It's like it's not just a trend. Hormesis. If you look up hormesis, it's HORMESIS. Hormesis. There is so much that supports this as a pillar to helping your nervous system, helping your body adapt. I always put adaptability at the first and forefront of the pillars of vitality, because like your nervous system controls and coordinates everything. This is why I love chiropractic care so much. This is why I think God made me a chiropractor, is so that I could help people's nervous systems. Yes, this helps with like neck and back pain and all these different things, but it is truly about, can we get the nervous system to adapt to the stress that it's under better? And the premise of this, and this is the same thing along the lines of cold plunging, is really around your parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve, vagal nerve stimulation. The cold plunge guy that really kind of made this a popular thing in the world was Wim Hof. He's got this thing, it's called the Wim Hof method. You should look that up. It's actually, it's very German. It's Wim, but it's a W, Hof method. And he has some amazing tactics to cold therapy. Just stepping out into the cold, being cold, exposed to the cold. Like, I think sometimes people, we don't even realize how much of an impact the 70 and fluorescent lifestyle is diminishing our health. Like, I think if we just stay under, well, that's a whole nother topic for another day, but LED lights and, in a temperature controlled environment that's, 68 to 72 degrees year round, I don't think that's helping us. I think we need to take strategic time where, again, we're in control of it and we are freezing in this, cold bath or in this cold spring in the river or whatever. We're freezing, but we're telling our body it's okay. We're breathing through it. We're slowing things down. How good do you feel on the other side of a cold plunge, Abby?
Yeah. I mean, you really just become numb. So, we were talking about how much warmer we were after we got out of the spring, because you're numb, but then because your blood is like rushing to every part of your body, and it is a really good experience, and I really recommend it. And I think that you don't have to go buy a certain tub and have a certain cold plunge machine. Like we will even do it in our stock tank that our kids swim in. Just fill it up with fresh, cold well water, and that'll do the trick. So
yeah, I think the science is like 50 degrees or so. So if you can get your water to 50 degrees, you're going to get the benefit.
yeah,
If you go colder than that, like a lot of people progressively start going colder and colder just because they want to feel like it becomes so, I don't want to say easy, but like at 50 degrees, you're like, well, this is nothing
right.
to do that for 3 minutes, right? But scientifically speaking, there's actually not a ton of excess benefit at colder and colder temperatures, at least from what I've seen yet. But there's some really good information out there on just doing that. And so look it up, research it if you want to, or just take our word for it, but then try it and see the amazing benefits of it. I mean, again, the science of it is that we shunt our blood to our vital organs, and then you get out, and guess what? Your body's like, oh, wait, nope, we don't have to do that anymore. We're moving on.
Yeah, and so you mentioned it a little bit, but on the chiropractic side of things, you do a really good job of explaining like how chiropractic relates to adaptability. And I know that it's a common misconception that chiropractic is just for back pain or aches and pains. And I think it's becoming more accepted that it's for more than that. But explain how chiropractic and adaptability are related.
Yeah. So, again, on a neurological level, here, your brain and body are constantly communicating. They're constantly assessing, am I in an environment where I can feel safe and secure? And so then I can rest, digest, relax, recuperate my body. Or am I in a fight or flight state? Am I in a dangerous situation where I need to run from the proverbial tiger in the room because I have to survive to the next second of life? And we should be switching back and forth in between those two systems. Again, there's sympathetic versus the parasympathetic nervous system. We should be shifting back and forth in between that. And we should live like 80% of our life in the rest, digest, relax, recoup part. But we don't. Society, the way we live our lives, our phones, again, LED lights, just the way that, hustle and bustle of traffic and all these different things, like they trigger our bodies to be into a state of that fight or flight mode, probably more like 80% of the time there, and only 20% in rest, digest, relax, and heal. And so one of the major things we found in chiropractic over the years is that when you're, what we use the term subluxated, or your spine is misaligned, you don't have just a back problem. Like I've asked people that question before. Hey, what would you rather have? A back problem or a brain problem? Everyone almost 10 out of 10 would say, well, I guess if I had to choose, I'd rather have the back problem. To which I say, well, trick question. If you have a back problem, then therefore you do have a brain problem. Like you cannot have an optimal alignment and structure to your body, especially to the spine, which controls and houses the entire nervous system. You can't have an optimal place for that and it be in the wrong position or in the wrong state or the wrong movement pattern, and your brain be okay with that. And so now your brain is getting the signal from your body that says something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. You get adjusted, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there it is. That's right. And that's why a lot of people feel the effects almost immediately of chiropractic adjustments, of just like, wow, I feel whole again, or I feel connected, or I feel good right now in this thing. It's not that it's just some dopamine hit or anything like that, although there are neurological effects like that where there's hormones and neurotransmitters that are released because of the adjustment in a positive way. But that is a major player for getting your body back into that parasympathetic rest, digest, relax, heal, and adapt part of your nervous system that much better.
Yeah, I do feel like that too. And I feel like a lot of people always say that they notice their sleeping improves, which is huge in these pillars of health, right? But especially with
rest is in there.
Sure. Adaptability and the detoxing that you do when you sleep and just different things like that, and just the importance overall of that. So with adaptability, what would you say is the next thing?
As far as all things, so you have hormesis, you have getting adjusted by a neurologically focused chiropractor. You said rest for sure. But there are so many different pillars, I think, of just this one thing, helping your body adapt. A routine. We're always trying to come up with a routine. in two thoughts. One is like, well, should I adapt to non-routine or should I have a really structured routine? Which way do you feel like you fall towards?
I'm a planner, so I definitely love a good routine, and nothing really does the trick like laying out your week or your day and having just that routine. Like, even if it's just what you do every day, the order that you do it in, and just, I think that that's good for everybody. I know that even there's studies that show that kids need routine. They need to know what to expect. They need to know what is next. And I think that when we do that, I don't know how to describe it besides for like, it's less of a jump scare with every little thing that's going to tug at you and derail your day, to where you don't really have like just a steady expectation of your day. And so I think that a routine is a really good thing, and especially for kids.
Well, yeah, and just allowing your body the ability to know, hey, this is the rhythm that I'm supposed to be in. I mean, we are rhythmic creatures. Like, our body changes. You mentioned things like detoxification and stuff like that. We do different things based on when the sun rises and falls, so to speak, or goes up and goes down. We do we do things differently because of that. And so we have to set ourselves up for success with that. We don't want to be, consuming a lot of blue UV light after the actual sun has gone down. I don't think you need blue UV glasses, 100% of the time, because there's actually a, effect on your melatonin and all these different things to actually consume that light into your eyes. And there's so many different benefits to that, and vitamin D levels and all this kind of stuff in the research. But we want to be in a rhythm with the earth, and that's not to get too woohoo and too natural parents on everybody, but we want to, in our best ability, have a rhythm with that. We need to have time where, like, you're talking about cold plunge, and somebody might be on the other end of this podcast and be like, well, when am I going to find time to cold plunge, and all these things. It's like, sometimes it is a matter of, okay, you're in a season of life. It's, you got a newborn, maybe it's not super possible, but if you can start to set that expectation with your children, they're going to start to really appreciate the routine too, and you pouring back into yourself, because we talk about with the natural parents all the time, it's faith, health, family, and then wealth. We've got to be sure that we're doing things that help our health. And so big topic today is helping your body adapt to the stressors that it's under on a regular basis. Having a routine for your health, where you prioritize that first, whether it be sleep, or if you're a morning or an evening worker outer kind of person, either way, whatever you see fit that works best for you and your family, we've got to be making time to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ways to do it, and just have that. And you said that, just like with the sunrise and the sunset, if you can get outside and see the morning sunrise and put your feet on the earth and ground, I just think that there's a lot of power to that. And so I think that there's a lot of really good ways that we can create routine and just really strive for adaptability in our everyday lives that are much more achievable than you may think initially whenever you think that, because kind of new things or changing things up can seem daunting. But I just encourage anybody to really strive for that. And you're never going to be perfect. That you're going to always be improving things and changing things to find the best rhythm for you to be able to achieve what your goal is. And so don't ever get discouraged if the first time that you try to create a routine or become more adaptive or implement any of these things, you don't succeed. Just keep trying.
Absolutely. So last take home point for me, something you can try in addition to some things we talked about to help your body adapt to stressors, is actually breathing. So no one has an excuse. You're listening to this podcast right now. You can do a breathing exercise that will help your nervous system, will help your body adapt to the stress that's on it. The Navy SEALs actually do it, and they call it box breathing. So it's 4-second inhalation, a 4-second hold, a 4-second exhalation, and a 4-second hold. And then you repeat that 4 times. So go ahead, when the podcast is over, if you're driving in your car, or you get a chance tonight before you go to bed, just try it out. Try box breathing. Your nervous system will thank you. Your body will be happy that it is having a chance to adapt and trigger that parasympathetic part of your nervous system. And we are off and running with the 7 pillars of vitality. The first and foremost one being so important, adaptability.
From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do His will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hukin.